think the main issue with the train is how do we pay for it? It's very easy to be for something if you're not the one that has to pay for it. And so I think that the train project really boils down to where we get this money, not only just for the study, because I don't think you can divorce the study from, you know, $300+ million project itself based on experiences with the Downeaster and the train in Vermont. I think you have to look at it as a whole picture. And the item 77 at the last meeting, the state had to come up with about $400,000 of general fund match for this study. And it just, we don't have the money for that study. It's not feasible going all the way to Concord and including Manchester. And we just don't have the money to go forward with a $300 million project like that. It just doesn't make sense. And I'll, you know, preface that I have a high respect of the Board of Aldermen and the mayor, you know, support this project unanimously. But I am, you need to know, getting calls from other people from the city who think you know, I cast the right vote for this project.
I guess my first question would be, without the study, how do we know it's $300 million? How do we know that we can't afford it?
We can start, I mean, this would be the fourth study that's included rail through Nashua that would have been done. We have the 2004 study with a $70 million price tag, capital cost, using just one rail. And then when you add the having two parallel rails, you're up to $150 million just going to Nashua. So it isn't hard to project that out, that you're at a $300 million. And we've been carrying a number in the 10-year highway plan in that neighborhood, and we've been carrying a number in the 10-year highway plan on what this train would cost to subsidize this operation. So not only is it the cost of the study, but the, you know, where are we going to get the money to subsidize the operation for a train all the way to Concord? Well, we just don't have that money. And back in 2004, when the environmental study to Nashua was done, it was determined that we could not use highway funds. Supreme Court determined we couldn't use highway funds to match the federal rail funds. And I have to caution you as well that regarding Crown Street, the state is talking about using turnpike toll credits as their match to the CMAQ money. We may run into the same problem there, not as a parking ride, but if it's at that station or is ever turned into a train station, we have to pay the money back constitutionally if we use turnpike toll credits. If we don't use turnpike toll credits for that purchase, I'm not sure where the money's coming from for that either. We'll have to search.
I guess if other members of the board have questions,
I have a couple. I do have a couple. Thank you. Thank you for coming tonight. I have some questions because my understanding is the studies previously were based on things that no longer hold true. For example, it was a freight rail versus passenger and freight. Secondly, the gas economics were very different in 2004 than they are in 2012. My business background tells me that it's good business practice to have the most current information in order to do my due diligence and make the best business decision with the best information, not going on a gut feeling or very old information. So I'm curious how that became the best business practice to just decide without having the numbers and the figures to say, yeah, this is a waste of time, it's too expensive, versus this is feasibly economically feasible, because we are the economic engine driving this state, and by limiting us, it limits what the state can make. So I'm curious how that was determined to be a good business practice to go with gut feeling rather than current information and good business practices of doing due diligence.
Well, we certainly weren't going on gut feeling. We have 3 studies. This study here, the Boston to Montreal, include the lake through Nashua. We've spent millions of dollars studying already. This isn't like we were starting from scratch. We have information. Like I said, we know what the 2003 cost would have been to go from Lowell to Nashua. We know that when you double the mileage, you're going to double those capital costs. We had train sets that were possibly available, and now they're not. There's a lot of things that I think that have changed. Hard facts that have changed. And it's if you're going to borrow, I have to look at this at where we're going to get the money for a $300 million train set. We're going to have to borrow the money. Train tracks. We're going to have to borrow the money from China, and my grandchildren and your grandchildren are going to have to pay it back. Not to mention where we're going to get the state match. Now that highway funds have been excluded, those dollars are hard to come by. I mean, when you're sitting in my shoes, we can't use highway funds and we can't use turnpike toll credits because of the New Hampshire Constitution, then this project is competing with special education, with the developmentally disabled, and it has to compete on all levels for the state match.
Follow up in the vein of good Christmas practice. I know I tried to call you a half a dozen times and got full voicemails, and once I was able to leave a message, and I heard from others that calls just aren't returned. I've tried repeatedly to call you and to email you, and I've never gotten any response back. Is that your standard business practice for serving your constituency?
I don't know about emails because if I get an email, I respond. If I'm asked for a response, you get a response. The mayor has my cell phone, I have the mayor's cell phone. We've communicated about this once or twice. We've communicated about other national issues, police commissioner, etc. I can give you my cell phone direct. I'm available. You can always get me to the office and contact.
At the risk of being confrontational, when I send you the email to invite you to join us, you never responded to that. It wasn't until my assistant called you that we were able to schedule the meeting.
Well, she called me a few days after you sent the email.
It was about a week and a half. Alderman Donches?
Yes, Councilor Wheeler, just some basic information. What do you say the operating subsidy would be to run the train from Nashua to Lowell on the existing track? And of the $300 million that you're saying it would require to upgrade the tracks, how much of that would be federal and how much would be state money?
When I'm talking about the $300 million, I'm talking about going to Concord with the proposal that we had on our desk. Okay, using the existing track, that, without fixing it up is not an option. The last information I had is that the parallel second track would be required the whole distance from not just using existing two steel rails, but one would have two rails going north and one would have two rails going south. That having sidings for trains to pass was not an option. So that we'd have to build a whole second rail.
Well, how do you know that without doing a study?
Well,
I mean, there used to be a commuter rail along the same route, and it was run in 1978 to 1980 time frame, and the train went from all the way to Concord and stopped in Nashua. And who knows? If we did the study, we might decide that it only makes sense to go to Nashua, or it only makes sense to go to Merrimack, or it only makes sense to go to Manchester. The train that was run for the several years in the 70s into about 1980 operated on the current tracks, was paid for through a federal subsidy, and without a study, how do you know what different possibilities really exist?
This would be the fourth study, I'll point that out again. I mean, we have basic information on cost, on feasibility. This isn't scratch from scratch.
All right, well, what is the operating subsidy then from Lowell to Nashua without the track, without the new tracks?
I can't give you, we have to have new tracks, and the tracks have to be fixed up. They're not acceptable for passenger rail, that's my understanding, that's the information I have
And if the $300 million, the $300 million project you're talking about runs all the way from, right?
Correct.
How much would that cost if it only went to Nashua?
I don't have that, and that's not the item we voted on. We voted on the whole thing. We do have,
But maybe the study would establish that.
we have numbers probably from the environmental study.
So you don't know now what you think it would cost to run the track from Lowell to Nashua. Is that correct?
I don't have exact numbers, but we have rough numbers from 2000.
What are the rough numbers? What would it cost to run the track from Lowell to Nashua?
I have the rough numbers. I might have them right here. You wanna give me that?
And I guess I ask, how can you vote against this without knowing something as basic as that question?
Looks like the subsidies from Lowell to Nashua in 2003, yearly subsidy would be about $10 million to run the train.
And how many riders are projected to?
Well, we're talking in the neighborhood of just under 1,000 trips, which would be about 500 riders.
And you're saying that subsidy is only to Nashua, not to Commuter?
Correct.
And how much would it cost to improve the tracks from Lowell to Nashua?
We had, at the time in 2003, the capital cost to be at $70 million before the decision at the time was made to have 2 sets of tracks, parallel tracks. That was what the cost is, about $150 million.
And at the $70 million figure, what's the state share of the $70 million?
Generally, in this project, is 20%.
So $14 million for the state.
Well, you keep going back to a single track, and I don't think you can do that, okay? Around 28.
Why do you need 2 tracks?
It was, at the time, it was something the MBTA said we had to have. Double tracks, they weren't gonna run the train on a single track. They were saying that having, sidings where one train in northbound can pass the southbound, go over for a minute, wasn't safe, and they wouldn't do it.
That may have been 20 years ago in technology, which I think is another reason.
We're talking 2003,
That's
2004.
still 10 years ago. The state of the art has advanced substantially in controls. I mean, you look around country places that have always had double tracks now have singles because they don't need to maintain the second track with adequate controls.
And the state share for the subsidy was how much? The state share for the study was how much?
This study that we had at the council item, approximately $400,000, general funds.
And it was designated where that money was from.
From the general fund. Which means for the layman, that money's competing with all general fund expenditures, health and human services, education, et cetera, et cetera.
And why do you think the councilors from the North Country and from Concord could see the wisdom of doing this? And you representing this district could not?
The councilor from Concord voted against it.
Who were the 2 who voted for it?
The councilor from Manchester voted for it. But that doesn't mean he believed that it was gonna come out financially feasible.
You just thought it would be worth checking it out to see what we might learn from, right?
Correct.